if we were not allowed to contribute in the countries we came from, and North America allows us to contribute, we are glad to contribute. We are so happy and we feel privileged that we're allowed to contribute. We feel so privileged to do so. So it's not racist.
Traffic Conversations Podcast.
Welcome to the Traffic Conversations Podcast. Thank you for joining us for another reaction to something that circulated just a few days ago. And we were so focused on the presidential debate that we figured that we'll leave that till after the presidential debate to talk about what happened with Tucker Carlson in Australia. So there's a video that came out where he was taking questions from a reporter, and it was really a very uncomfortable experience for the reporter. Before we jump in, I would like to invite you to subscribe to this channel. Please hit the bell icon so that you'll be notified when new content is released. Consider hitting the like button so that YouTube knows that this video was valuable to you, and it will help us hit escape velocity. And also consider sharing this video with your family and friends to let them know what we're doing and how they can be a part of it. Also, if you're listening to this podcast on a podcasting platform like Spotify or Apple Podcast, please consider subscribing there as well so that you will be notified as soon as we release fresh content. Tucker Carlson. Well, he needs no introduction for those who know his journey, at Fox News. And his new platform has been growing in leaps and bounds. He recently took a trip to Australia, and he gave an address, and he had a Q&A lined up. And this was quite interesting because with the way news outlets approach Q&As in these days, it's very difficult to settle into a mindset of fairness with them. And let me explain what I mean. In the 80s, when I was growing up, it was assumed that when you engaged in a conversation with someone, that person was coming into the conversation with good faith. That means they fully intended to engage this conversation in a way that was mutually beneficial. But in these days, when news anchors or reporters go into a situation to interview someone or ask someone questions, it almost feels like there's an ambush in the works. You're looking out for the moment where the trap snaps shut. Well, this reporter tried to do that to Tucker Carlson. She wasn't subtle about it. So let's listen, and I'm going to be cutting in and out just to kind of give some pointers, and I'll just let it play. It's really painful to listen to and to watch, but there are a few things that we can learn from this incident.
Okay, so you talked a little bit about immigration, and in the past you've talked about how white Australians, Americans, Europeans are being replaced by non-white immigrants in what is often referred to as the Great Replacement Theory. This is the same.
Have I said that whites are being replaced?
Well,
I don't think I said that.
Well, it's been mentioned on your show 4,000 times, and
really, when did I say that?
On your
I said
show,
whites are being replaced.
You have said that before.
Really?
Yeah.
I would challenge you to cite that.
Yeah. So this is what tends to happen a lot, where reporters on mainstream media state something that is a falsehood as if it's a fact. And then when you push back and say, I never said that, they insist that you said it. And then you're like, okay, so show me proof. And then they don't have proof. They simply say, well, you said it. And that's really part of the bad faith system that I mentioned
Because I'm pretty
earlier.
sure I haven't said that. I said native-born Americans are being replaced, including blacks.
Native-born Americans.
Native-born Americans.
And
Americans who, like black Americans, have been African Americans, have been in the United States for, in many cases, their families over 400 years. And their concerns are every bit as real and valid and alive to me as the concerns of white people whose families have been there 400 years. So I've never said that whites are being replaced. Not one time. And you can't cite it.
Untrue.
So we just met, but when our relationship starts with a lie, it makes it tough to be friends. So
and that's the thing. When I get competition, I get wanting to come out of an exchange being the winner. But when you win through dishonest means, when you win because you lied or gaslit someone, how does that win taste? Okay? As a child, I never felt comfortable cheating at board games. I never felt comfortable cheating at sports. I never felt comfortable cheating in video games. My friends would tell me about cheat codes, and I always felt uncomfortable using cheat codes in video games. One time, my friends and I were playing Age of Empires, and I was always getting trounced. And I found out much later that a bunch of them were using cheat codes. So they would build up gold and build up grain and everything far quicker than I would. And I was always the guy who wanted to play according to the rules. And I kept getting beaten. And even though I knew that I had an out, I could get the cheat codes and also do the same thing, it just didn't feel right. It didn't feel like if I won something like that, it didn't feel earned. So when people engage in this kind of slander, and then they're like, at the end of it, they're like, oh, look at that. I showed him. You lied. You basically told the world somebody said something they never did, and you feel like that's good. And that makes you feel good about winning in that way. I don't think so.
Well, I mean, you've been lying
let's
about
pull
my
that back. I'm
press
happy
gallery
to what I
calling
do
as well,
think.
so,
Well, you actually can't say it because I didn't say it, and I don't believe it. And I'm telling you that to your face, so why don't you just accept me at face value? My concern is who are born in the country are the main responsibility of its leaders. And as noted earlier, when those leaders shift their concern from the people whose responsibility it is to take care of to people in the world to put their priorities above that of their own citizens, that's immoral. And they are being replaced in my country, people who are born in the United States. And the birth rate tells the whole story. They're not at replacement rate. And so the US population is growing because we're importing people from other countries. And my view is that happy people have children, and a functioning economy allows them to do that. And we don't have that. And so you need to fix the economy and fix the culture and make it so people who want to have kids can. You don't just go for the quick sugar fix of importing new people. Like that's position.
And Tucker, just let her know what his position is. Let's hear how she responds to him stating clearly what his position is.
If you think that's racist, that's your problem.
I never called you a racist.
But of course you are suggesting, and I must say one of the reasons people don't like people like you in the media is that you never say exactly what you mean. Your slurs are all by implication, and you're about to tell me the great replacement,
which is true,
racist or anti-Semitic, whatever. I've said what I've said to you right now, like 100 times in public. I hope to, if I live long enough, say it 100 more times. I think it's completely honest and real, not racist or scary. It's factually true.
I don't think that what he says or what he just said and what has been said along these lines is racist. I'm an immigrant. Okay, I left my country, and honestly, for years, my family kept encouraging me to leave my Nigeria, and I kept telling them, no, I'm not ready to leave. I felt that it was my duty to stay back and to contribute to Nigeria. And when I had kids, it turned out that I felt that, okay, Nigeria isn't exactly friendly enough for my kids to grow up in Nigeria because of some of the things that had happened during the pandemic. And so my wife and I moved. All right. Now, I've moved to North America. And if the North American government says to me, we need to know that when you come, you are a net benefit to our country and not a burden, I mean, they literally stated that during the process of our application, they needed to know that we could take care of ourselves. They needed to know we had the funds to take care of ourselves, and we were not going to be a burden on the Canadian taxpayer. They knew they needed us to prove that we would be a net benefit to the Canadian community. All right. And I didn't sit in my room back in Nigeria saying to myself, that's racist. I mean, people who talk that way are people who have lived in North America all their life, have no concept of what it's like to live in a third world country, have no concept of what it's like to be in a system that just doesn't work and that holds you back regularly. They live in North America where things tend to work. They may not be satisfied that it's working perfectly, but things literally work. I have videos of myself live streaming back in Nigeria and power would go out. I mean, I'll be live streaming. I have videos of me live streaming in the dark. I had to, it's 1 a.m., 1:38 a.m. in the morning. Power is on. Back in Nigeria, it would be off by now. I'll be sitting in the dark, in the heat, trying to create content, and it was almost impossible to work in Nigeria. So when people in a system that works don't have context of some of these things, it's really funny when they try to speak on behalf of people who are coming into the North American experience from these other countries. We don't feel like it's racist. No, we don't. We don't feel like we're owed anything. We don't. All right. We feel it's a privilege to be let into North America. And we also feel, at least the majority of us feel, that we're here to contribute. If we were not allowed to contribute in the countries we came from, and North America allows us to contribute, we are glad to contribute. We are so happy and we feel privileged that we're allowed to contribute. Right? We feel so privileged to do so. So it's not racist to, the things that Tucker Carlson has said is not racist or are not racist.
It's not a theory, it's a fact. And the whole point of your question was to be like, Gary, racist.
Well, I haven't.
And my response is, no, I'm not. Okay, well, how about no more lying in your questions, and then I'll answer it.
Okay, well,
Yep.
This is the same theory, or as you say, idea that has inspired the New York Buffalo shooting, where 11 Americans were killed.
You know what I mean?
This is gaslighting, all right, on a mega scale. It's like saying, all right, someone tells me, all right, let's say me, I just got through telling you how I moved to North America and so on. And then someone comes in and says, oh, because of that video that you released, the immigrants turned violent because of the videos you released, because you said that we're privileged to serve, and to contribute in Canada. It's like, what? Like that's literally what this kind of sounds like. I know they're a bit different, but it's like, okay, so I'm saying that we should fix our country, make it better, improve the experience for everyone who is native born in the country first, before we start thinking of helping other immigrants or getting people help in other parts of the world. And then the other person turns around and says, don't you think that what you just said inspired the shootings at this? Like, how is that related? Goodness.
But it's also inspired.
It's not. First of all,
it's inspired one of the worst Australian guys.
How do they
get
this stupid in the media? I guess it doesn't pay well.'t I'm sorry. I've lived among people like you for too long, and I don't mean to call you stupid. Maybe you're just pretending to be, but I'm totally against violence. I'm totally against the war in Ukraine, for example, which doubtless you support. And like all dutiful liberals, support more carnage. I don't. I hate mass shootings, actually. Nothing I said. What does it mean to inspire something? My views are not bigoted against any group. They're honest. They're factual. That's not hate. That's reality. And my views derive from my deep concern for Americans.
I heard Thomas Sowell say something a couple of years back. He says that it is amazing how people on the left are immune to facts. And it keeps popping up again and again where facts are presented, or there are clear facts, and people who tend to lean more towards the left or liberal end tend to ignore the fact and try to impose their own sense of reality. It's really disturbing.
Actually, Americans aren't having kids because they can't afford to, and nobody in charge cares. And so that's my position. That doesn't inspire mass shootings. How dare you try to tie me to some who murdered people? How dare you, actually?
So I want to ask you now, this is a question, and you can leave your comments, and I hope I haven't unleashed the whirlwind. But leave a comment and tell me if this response is actually a decent response to someone who is trying to gaslight you. And I'm not just referring to things like this, but in real life, when you're talking with someone and they're literally trying to gaslight you, is this response where you become assertive and you enforce your position and you let them know that they're lying and you basically put them on the back foot? Is this position, a really great position to take? I really want to hear from you. Leave a comment, and I would love to hear what you have to say, because I personally feel like I have to learn how to be more assertive, because sometimes I tend to like to kind of be laid back and let people say their piece and honestly not even respond. Let them say their piece and keep it moving. I want to have a nice quiet life and enjoy myself. But I found out that many times, because for many years, and my wife would confirm that for many years I would sit back and people would say all kinds of things about me, and I would choose not to even respond because I feel like it's a waste of time. Because I feel like, or I have felt that if someone already has a made up opinion of me, there's nothing I can say that will change their mind. And this interview kind of, confirms that idea. However, simply saying that someone else has their own made up impressions of me and allowing them to continue saying and doing what they're saying and doing, and me minding my business and saying to myself, well, it's not true. I know it's not true, and that's okay. It hasn't exactly been a great experience for me, and in some cases for my family, because it actually allowed for certain things to be said that shouldn't have been said. So this kind of response from Tucker Carlson, if you transpose it to your own experience, do you think that you should be more assertive, in your life when someone is trying to do or say things that would affect you negatively? Should you be more assertive? I'm not saying I'm not saying turn violent. I'm saying let me say it properly. I'm not saying you should turn violent. I'm saying when someone comes against you, trying to gaslight you, trying to say you did or said things you didn't do or say, would this be a better option where you come at them with facts, and when they insist on lying, you literally have to go after them hammer and tongue like Tucker is doing in this case? Not insulting them or doing anything, just basically standing your ground and pushing back fiercely until they basically turn and run, because they have the only ground people like this have is they are depending on you to turn and run and hide in shame. A false shame for something you never did. But they are gaslighting you into feeling shame for something that you never did. I don't know if this makes sense. Leave a comment and let me know, please. I would love to hear from you.
And in fact, I mean, do you know what I mean? I'd be like, Hitler wore those shoes. A lot of people are saying that you're like Hitler. Can you shoes? Hitler wore exactly the same shoes. And you're like, I've got nothing to do with Hitler. That's how I feel about your absurd, disingenuous question.
Right. So therefore you support gun control?
So someone shouted, "Good job," and then she throws another. she asks a question about gun control.
What?
My sentiment exactly. Where did that come from?
Thought it couldn't get dumber, but it did. No, I don't support disarming law-abiding people so they can't defend themselves. So the government has a monopoly on violence? I don't think so. First of all, in my country, that's illegal, as you know. But moreover, it should be illegal in every country. A sovereign person has the right to defend himself and his family.
I agree that it should be illegal in every country. I agree. And the reason why I believe it should be legal in every country is because I have seen what that, in its full manifestation does in a society, in a country. I come from a country where innocent civilians were gunned down simply because they were protesting an injustice being inflicted on the general population by the police. So when the government has 100% monopoly on violence in that way, things like that happen. All right. In fact, it was that incident that forced me to leave my country, because it was clear to me that it was time to take my kids and leave. It's an unpopular idea, but when you have a society where people have a conscience and people follow the law of their conscience. Jesus said, do to others as you would have them do to you. And you have a society that is largely governed by that ethos. All right. You can expect that the incidents of rogues who go around harming people with weapons will be greatly reduced. And we've seen in Europe, in the UK, where they've taken guns out of the general population. But what did people who have no scruples do? They picked up knives. All right. So it's something to consider. Something to consider.
And that said, I'm totally opposed to harming anyone. Have you been calling? Are you concerned about the war in Ukraine and the countless innocents being murdered there every single day? I doubt you are. Probably Putin bad. I am. I'm a Christian. I hate violence. I hate mass shootings. I have guns at home and often on my person when I'm in the United States, I'm proud to say, because I want to defend myself and those I love against violence. That's the point. I'm not perpetrating crimes. I'm not shooting strangers.
Now, I believe in the right for individuals to defend themselves and to bear arms. I believe in it. I don't own a gun. I came from a country where people don't own guns. Most people don't own guns. I don't own a gun. I moved to a country where I could own a gun. I don't own a gun now. All right. I didn't come into North America to go looking for arms. Okay. No, I didn't. But I believe that people should have the right to keep and bear arms, to defend their property and to defend the ones they love. All right. Not in that order. Defend the ones you love. Okay. Defend your property. All right. I believe in that. So there's nothing wrong with that, because most of the time, the police tends to turn up late after a crime has been committed. And usually the crime is fatal to the person who isn't armed, all right, who can't defend themselves. Usually when people know that the other person has the capacity to defend themselves, the person who would inflict violence on the other would basically decide that it's too much of a risk for them to attempt to do so. And they go looking for someone else who will not or cannot defend themselves. That's really the way the world works.
Defending what I love. And if you're against that, I guess I would ask why. Why would you be against that?
Well, so you don't think you harbor any kind of responsibility for these hate crimes?
I'm sorry, but I just got the wind knocked out of me. Like this lady is either. I'm not going to say it much.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to be charitable. I was like, maybe you're just pretending to be dumb. Now I don't think it's an act.
Oh man. Wow.
Tucker, thank you for taking those questions.
Wow. Wow. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That I don't know which one hurt more. Her cluelessness or Tucker's responses. It's almost like she had these talking points, like I have to ask these hard-hitting questions, these gotcha questions. And once I ask them, then we can edit the video and use that as a soundbite to show that this person is a racist or encourages violent crime. It's a weird world we live in. It was weird when I was growing up. Not as, like, I knew that people were strange growing up. But these days, it's crazier to live in a world where people like this walk around and they actually look good. They smile at you. They look like they're reasonable individuals. But when they open their mouths and begin to tell you what they think and how they think, it's very frightening. Well, what do you think about my reaction and some of the things that I shared during this episode? This is a reaction episode, and I figured that I'll share this video with you and share some of my thoughts with you on this. This is so painful. Now, let me know what you think. Send your comments, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon and hit the like button. Let the YouTube algorithm set us free and let us, leave escape velocity and help us grow our channel. We're still a small channel and we need all the help we can get. If you are listening on a podcasting platform, please consider subscribing and sharing this episode with your family and friends. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I look forward to hearing from you in the comments section. And if you would like to leave a voice note, please consider going to the Spotify app and hitting the message icon and leaving a voice note. And your voice note might be featured in a future episode. Please be courteous. All right. If you agree with me but disagree with someone else, please do it in a respectful and in a courteous way. No profanity, no insinuations. Only respond to the words that have been said and not what you think someone means to do, and so on. If you agree with some of the things I said, please agree courteously. If you disagree with some of the things I said, please disagree, but courteously. I do appreciate your time listening to this, and I hope you listen to the end, because most people listen for the first minute or two or three, and then they jump into the comment section, and then they say things that are countered by the content that featured in the middle or towards the end of the episode. But if you're listening to this right now, you're not one of those guys. So thank you for being here till the end. Thank you. Until next time, God bless you.